You are now tuned in to your number one radio station,
87.9.
We interrupt this program for a special report by WKMU.
Staten Island, New York. Can't sleep, neither can we. This is 87.9 WKMU, what keeps me up at night radio.
Which is funny because every time you say the beginning, all I hear is a story of a girl.
This is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world.
So today we're going to go into D.B. Cooper.
Yeah.
One of the most famous skyjackings in actually FBI history. It's one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the FBI and in America just generally. I think I just stole that from BuzzFeed.
Maybe.
I hope they don't listen to this.
You know, this story is pretty crazy. It's not the craziest story that we've ever heard. Clearly, there's been like 9/11 and stuff like that.
But this one's
or the
very
guy
interesting.
with the bomb in his underwear. But this one it's like creepy. It's eerie. It's conspiracy theory-y. And
yeah, did he get like abducted by aliens?
right.
Did he know the future?
Who
Did
knows?
he time travel?
This
like,
sound
where did he
like
go?
Amelia Earhart shit.
Yeah.
Like,
But he got away with money.
yeah.
And we think he's alive.
Right.
Well, people think he's dead. Some people think
There's
he's
a lot
alive.
of like mishandling, I think, when it came to this case. But let's
So,
just get right into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it.
He books a flight number 305 at around 3 p.m. under the name Dan Cooper. Once on the plane, he orders a bourbon and soda. After receiving the drink, he hands the flight attendant a note, who then shoves the note into their pocket. Maybe it was a tip or like a phone number.
Yeah, I think that's
Like-
what she assumed, that he was just hitting on her because he's a lonely businessman. He's like, here's my number. Call me.
I mean, personally, like where I work, everybody knows that I'm a server. When people give me money like in my hand, they try to be like secretive about it. So I try to like secretly be like, "Oh, thanks," and put it in my pocket. I would have did the same thing, I think.
Yeah, she got work to do. She got time to read your
Yeah,
love notes.
yeah. She has like 6 other drinks to drop off. But yeah, then he is forced to announce. So since she shoved it in her pocket, he had to tell her like, "Hey, you want to read that note? Like, I have a bomb."
Isn't that funny?
I
Like,
thought it was hilarious.
Here's a note. Keep it on the down low.
He's
And then
trying to
he's
be
like,
low key. Yeah.
"Psst, I have a bomb."
Yeah. The note allegedly instructs her to sit down and to help him write a note to the pilot. He then shows her that he has 4 sticks of dynamite. His demands were $200,000 in 20s, 4 parachutes, a refuel truck, and a flight to Mexico City.
And that makes sense. Money, you need fuel to leave, parachutes, I guess, to jump. It was actually pretty smart. You know why he picked 4 parachutes?
I didn't know. I don't really get why you need 4. Like, don't you just need 1? Like, I don't know.
If you were jumping alone, yeah, but he wanted them to think that he was jumping with somebody, so they wouldn't give him a bad parachute. So if they gave him a bad parachute, it could be the flight attendant who had it, and now she's dead, and the guy with the money gets away with it, and you killed somebody. So it's
Right.
kind of ingenious. It actually leads some people to believe that he's like CIA or like a criminal mastermind,
Mhm.
because either way, it's high thinking. No one would think, "Oh, let me get 4 parachutes just in case they give me a fake one."
I mean, it's not that hard to think about that, like adding that. Like, I don't know. What I think is weird too is that he asked for the money in 20s, because I guess nobody really makes fake 20s. So
Don't they? I thought they don't make like fake 10s or fake 5s.
I think it's that nobody bothers to counterfeit 20s. They usually
even check
counterfeit
it.
hundreds or whatever. That's just what I know, but what do I know at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's a weird request.
I just figured, nobody makes fake ones. Like, why would you waste time and energy and resources making a
this
fake
could be
$1 bill?
That's true, but this could be another smart move on DB Cooper's side, where he's like 20s and that much money in 20s would only weigh this much. If I don't specify what to give it to me in, they could give me all singles,
Mhm.
and now I have so much excess money weight that I won't be able to jump. So this could be a like, hey, just give
Oh.
me 20s.
Yeah.
And maybe back then hundreds, people didn't have $100 bills. So if you like as much as they do now. So if you go around with a bunch of $100 bills, you look weird.
Yeah.
So I think it's like
Oh,
20.
I
Everybody has
see.
20s,
I see, I
and it keeps
see.
the weight down.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. And then yeah, thinking of a refuel truck and everything. Like I don't know. They
Yeah, he
really
wants to get
thought
to
this
Mexico
through.
City.
Like who did they try to copy with with this plan? Like I don't know.
Nobody. There was no copy. He did all
That's
himself.
crazy. So yeah, after a 2 hour delay, the plane heads towards Reno, Nevada,
Yeah, it leaves about 7:40 p.m.
and 10 minutes into the flight, Dan is seen leaving through the rear aft stairs and jumping into the night.
Well, that's not true. She didn't see because she actually sent the flight attendant back to the front.
Okay.
So how they think when he jumped out was they heard noises and that the plane kind of shimmied, like shaked, because the doors opened and like
Right.
it changes the air pressure. So they think about 10 minutes after that he jumped.
So he didn't hurt anybody then, right? This whole time.
No.
They don't really.
They don't even know if the
have
bomb was real.
Right. I
'Cause
was gonna
there's-
say he
there's
doesn't
no way to
even really
check.
have a weapon. I guess that he has dynamite or whatever.
Well, he also had a trigger. He had it in his hand. He kept having the stewardess light
Uh.
his cigarettes because he wanted to keep one hand on the button or make it seem like he was going to do the job.
Oh wow.
Which is something he actually said. He actually said, "No funny business, or I'll do the job."
Oh my
It's like
god.
it was like the 30s and 40s. It sounds like a movie script. And what happened with the parachutes is that one of them was accidentally sewn shut. It was a practice one, and they didn't realize this. But when you say with the money, like maybe he put it in the paper bag, what he actually did was take the front parachute
Uh-huh.
and he unraveled it and shoved the money into it and then closed it back up. So he used it as like a satchel for the money. And then the parachute was given two options: a more standard civilian type of parachute where you can direct where you're going, and a military style parachute that had no steering. Now, people on both sides said he was a paratrooper or he wasn't a paratrooper based on this information. If given, wouldn't you pick, oh, I want to steer, I don't want to fall into trees.
Uh-huh.
But if you were a military paratrooper and you're used to that one, like, well, no, I'll just let the wind take me. That's why I went here. The wind's going to pull me generally over here and I'll land in this general area. I'm good.
Yo, that's weird.
So it's like another tip off. And it's just, the FBI don't know what to do with it. It's just information that they can't really use because it supports on both sides. You can also say, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just like, well, I'll take this one. If it's good for the military, it's good for me.
I think they know who this guy is.
Why do you think they know who this guy is?
Cause this dude, like, so smart, probably had a job, didn't show up to work. Where is he?
Not if it was a day off.
Yeah, but then he never goes back to work. Or you think he went back to work so nobody suspects? He would have to show back up to work. I think like he probably is like a CIA agent. Maybe he needed help financially, and yeah, if he hadn't showed up back to work, he would have been suspected. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And after jumping into the night sky, he was never seen from again. The money wasn't seen from again until like 9 years later, when a little boy who was setting up camp with his parents wound up finding some money. But it was all deteriorated though. It was eaten alive.
I think I saw the pictures of it.
The weird thing about that though is some of the money was together and some of the money was loose, and that the rubber bands that were on the money, they did test on the same rubber bands and they wouldn't last a year. And so if it's been there for 9 years, those rubber bands shouldn't have lasted. Another weird thing is in 1974, they dug some ground up and they dumped it to the side. Where the money was on top of it. That means the money got there after 1974.
Huh.
So it's really weird. So let's go into some of the more known suspects and why we think it could be them or it's not them.
Yeah.
We'll do a couple of the ones that everyone's heard of, but there's some things I would like to say about it that I don't really hear on these things. So we're going to start with one of the more famous ones. His name is Richard McCoy. He was actually 5 months after this DB Cooper incident, he hijacked a 727 Boeing, asked for 4 parachutes, $500,000. He picked the path. I remember DB Cooper didn't pick the path. He was just like, drive wherever. I'm just going to jump. This guy was like, no, I want you to fly this way. Which could be evidence that if he is DB Cooper, that he learned from his mistakes. He's like, well, I landed in this, woods. I almost died. Let me pick a better route for this.
So they just think that this guy's a suspect because he literally asked for the same, almost similar.
Well, he
things
also
that Dan
he also
Cooper
jumped
asked
out the
for.
back of the plane too with the parachutes.
Yeah.
So it could be a copycat, which a lot of people are saying. But he
It's probably
actually,
a copycat.
they say he actually looks a lot like the picture back in the day. But the funny part is he got found 2 days later because his buddy ratted him out. He's like, hey, I know that guy. That's my neighbor or whatever, my buddy Rich. So he calls the cops on him. He gets arrested, gets sent away for 45 years. Wind up
wow.
making a fake gun and escaping from the prison.
Oh, wow.
Then I think it was months later or days later or whatever it was, he wound up getting killed by the FBI, like in a shootout.
Wow.
So you could say, oh, they knew it was him, they just wanted to end it. Or like, he has, this guy who he could kill you. Like, you don't know. He's like, they didn't know. I don't think they knew at the time it was a fake gun. They just saw a gun. So they don't know, they shot him up. So
No, that's pretty crazy.
we'll never know if it was really him based on that from him because, he died right afterwards.
Yeah, and we don't have any DNA from DB Cooper. I just wanted to point out that
We actually do, though.
that Dan Cooper and DB Cooper, we keep switching the names because it's both names, I guess. The
Yeah, the
media,
name
when
they
they ended
used,
up
yeah.
announcing that this happened, they used the name DB Cooper instead of Dan Cooper.
Well, what happened was there was actually a guy named DB Cooper in the area.
Mhm.
And since Dan Cooper is the first initial, they checked him out.
Yeah.
So when the Y came across, the name stuck, DB Cooper, even though it was actually Dan Cooper.
Yeah, really crazy. And then we both think that DB sounds better than Dan Cooper.
Yeah, Dan sounds blech. Sounds boring. Like, also, they would mention that halfway through the flight, this dude puts on wraparound sunglasses, to jump out into the night.
Oh, yeah. Yo, that is hilarious. He orders the bourbon and soda,
Yeah.
puts the shades on, smoking cigarettes
8
the whole
cigarettes,
time.
which the FBI lost. They lost those 8 cigarettes, so you can't even get DNA off of that.
What
but
the
there was-
fuck?
there was-
That's weird.
yeah.
Because I heard the note,
Oh,
too, wasn't
leaks.
found.
That-
The note, we don't know what the actual note said either.
Yeah, he took it with him.
That's
So you couldn't.
crazy.
I don't think so. You couldn't.
The handwriting.
Yeah, maybe he knew people could figure it out who it was. I have a small theory that the pilot was in on it because he didn't have a discussion with it. They only at first it was supposed to be Mexico, and him and the pilot was like, no, we can't do that. It's not feasible. So they negotiated and wound up with Reno, and then the pilot chose the route. But
Yeah.
I don't know, that the stewardess never talked to
He
anybody
was,
either.
too cooperative, right?
People think it was an inside job, and you got the stewardess who doesn't want to talk to anybody. But none of these people made money afterwards that we know of. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
I don't know, but it's weird that they found the money because the whole point was the money. I really wonder what happened to him, and I guess maybe he realized he couldn't use the money anymore. I don't know.
The next man on the list is Duane Web. Now, he got into this in 1995 while on his deathbed. He actually said to his wife, "I am Dan Cooper."
Mm.
And, she didn't get it at first because the case is known as DB Cooper. But months later, she realizes that he had an old injury in his knee, and he says it was from a plane jump.
Yeah.
He would have nightmares where he would scream out, "Oh, the fingerprints! I left fingerprints on the plane," or some stuff like that. He had nightmares that he left fingerprints on the plane somewhere.
Yo.
And
I think that's mad funny. I'm Dan Cooper.
yeah.
And she's like, what?
Who the
Who
fuck
the
is
fuck is Dan Cooper?
is this is there a heritage somewhere that you hid from? I don't
Yeah,
understand.
what does this information bring?
So the only reason I even like this person as the Dan Cooper is 2 things. 1, he says on a deathbed. 2, he calls him Dan. Everybody called it DB Cooper.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Dan Cooper was the name of DB Cooper. So, and I have internet now. They didn't have internet then.
Yeah.
So why would some rando tell his wife that I'm dying that I'm Dan Cooper?
Yeah. But also
If he said DB Cooper, I would have been like, nah, that's not him. Because nobody would call themselves. If I did a heist and I called myself, the Red Mask, and they start calling me, Purple Mask, I'm not going to say I'm the Purple Mask. No, I'm Red Mask. You got it wrong. That's
But
wrong.
let's say it was him and he's listening in on the news. Wouldn't he know that the news was calling him DB Cooper? And wouldn't he say DB Cooper if
Exactly.
he was DB
No,
Cooper? You know what
because-
I mean?
no,
Because
I
he
don't
knows
say- I
that the
think so.
media's
But that's
calling him
not.
that.
That's his name. That's like me having a name and then someone else call me something else. I don't forever now call myself that. I still go back to my original
Yeah, but
name.
you say it's like the Zodiac Killer. Probably didn't call himself the Zodiac Killer, but
Exactly.
the media does. And if
Exactly.
he said, "Hey, I'm the Zodiac Killer," I would be like, "Oh shit,"
But if
because that's
Yeah.
what the media's calling him. I don't know
but
how.
that's my proof.
You know what I mean?
If I'm Dan Cooper, I'm not going to tell my wife that I'm DB Cooper because that's not who I know it as. Even if the media calls it DB Cooper, I name myself Dan Cooper.
I understand.
I would never call myself. I wouldn't call myself DB. That's somebody else's name for me. And so I think that leads credence. Why did he say DB? If everyone knows DB Cooper, why didn't he just say DB Cooper? Why say Dan Cooper, which no one knew that's who it was?
I don't know.
Like, so he's leaving her puzzle. He's like, "Oh, I'm Dan Cooper. Figure it out."
I feel like it's a little more confusing that he said I'm Dan Cooper instead of DB Cooper.
Well, yeah, that's the part of it. That's why I think that is because the confusion of and the way to say it makes me think that it's really him because he's doing it in a
He's
weird
being
way.
cryptic.
Like, why didn't he just say DB Cooper?
Yeah.
So the next guy on the list is a guy named Kenneth Christiansen.
Mhm.
He was actually a paratrooper. He was 45. He drank bourbon, and after the hijacking, he actually bought a whole bunch, 2 homes, I think it was, with cash.
Okay.
The only problem with that is also another deathbed confession. He told his brother, "I have a secret to tell you, but I can't tell you." And
Oh my God.
so his brother doesn't. For all he knows, his brother fucked his wife, and he's trying like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Me and your wife fucked." And he's over here like, "Oh, he must be Dan Cooper. He's DB." And he goes through all this other stuff where it's him, and the houses they brought up as like evidence that it's him. They don't realize is that he actually he sold houses recently. He sold property recently.
Right.
I don't know how he got that property because he was broke. But in that house that he bought, there was a show called Decoded by Brad Meltzer. He was an author. He did like a lot of conspiracy theories back in the 2000s. I think it was on History Channel.
Okay.
And they went to his house and they found a hidey hole in the attic. There was like a door that lifted up, and it was like maybe, what do you say, like 6 inches
I
of
don't
depth.
know. Okay.
And so it looked like where you would stack 20s up because it's only yay thick.
Okay.
Like you can't hide a lot of stuff, but you could hide stacks of 20s.
Okay.
But it was empty because he's not going to keep it there. He's going to move around with the money.
Okay.
I don't.
Wait.
And his motive is because he actually worked for Boeing, which is why people think it's him because they feel like it's inside job. At the time, they went through 8 strikes in like 10 years, and some of them were short and some of them were really prolonged. So he was losing money, and it's like, how can I keep working like this? So they think his motive is let me go hijack, take my money back, because he actually tells the stewardess that I don't have a grudge with your company, I just have a grudge. So, I mean, for him to be him, then he's a liar because he is grudging against them.
Yeah. So, like, people literally think that he could be DB Cooper because he works for them and has broke. Basically.
And he said that it was him. Yeah, his brother said he was about to tell him that.
But his brother doesn't know what he would have really said, no?
No, yeah, he died right after saying, "I have a secret I can't tell you."
That's crazy. I mean, I guess, maybe I would think maybe 10% true, but I don't know about that one.
I think the hidey hole leads some good evidence to it. I think the Richard McCoy and the guy who did the hijacking right after, there's a lot of good information.
Yeah, these
The
are
Dan
really good
Cooper,
suspects.
it's like hard for me to. A lot of these people aren't meeting the description, and they are. And there's some talk about how the description is actually slightly off. That there's one of the flight attendants actually said they all said white male, but one said Hispanic. So because he has olive skin, he's a little darker skinned. So they think that he could be Spanish or Native American, which is where I don't know if you ever heard of Chael Sonnen, but he's a UFC fighter. He actually robbed a bank for like $15 million before he got into the UFC. And he swears he knows who DB Cooper is. And he said he died 3 years ago in Arizona, and it's a Native American. That's why they could never really place anybody because the skin tone was a little off.
But where's the proof?
He hasn't given any. He just keeps saying he knows who it is. He saw him a couple years ago. He knows his grandson. And like maybe in the future he'll tell. But right now basically what he sounds like is like, hey, I like getting attention.
I was going to say that.
I'm not a UFC fighter no more. Because he was known as the biggest shit talker. Would never curse. Would never say anything like, vulgar like that. But he would call you stupid. He would call your country stupid. Like he'd go to the country and then make fun of the country that you're from. And then be like, oh, you're from this country, but you live in LA in a mansion. So how you repping your country when you don't even live there no more? Is this a man just kind of keep attention? It sure seems like it.
It definitely seems like it.
It's like, oh, like, because you could write a book. He has his own podcast. He has his own stuff. So you could still make money off of this if you want the attention. Why are you dragging it out? Especially not the man is dead. It's not like, you get retribution. But maybe because he knows the family. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun theory that it's Channel Sun and it knows who this is.
Yeah.
But it's like, what was it like besides the notoriety? Why lie about that? Like, there got to be different ways to get popular and stay interesting than a 50-something-year-old case about a skyjacking.
So you're saying there's a possibility that it is true? Because if it
I'm
wasn't
saying-
true, it's such a stupid thing to lie about.
Yeah, I'm saying all the people I bring up today can't be him. Ooh, could be him kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the real interesting thing to people for this case is that so many different people from different, like, there was a cocaine dealer who said he did it, military. There was even a woman, well, it was a transgender woman. He actually got the transitional sex change in 1969. He's saying he did it, or she, whatever. I forget which one. I think they transitioned to a she. And
Wait, but if
'Cause
she
he was
did it, they would have
if it was
already been a woman.
but-
Because this happened in 71.
But you remember, it was a she after, which means biological man. So if you
But you
wanted
said
to,
the
like,
sex change was in 69.
Yeah.
The event happened in 71.
So you're telling me you can't strap down boobs? Like, you can't see a bulge? Like, you could still look like a man. You were born a man. If you have feminine
Okay.
features, like, you ever see somebody who has feminine features, and if they dolled themselves up, they would look like a woman, but then if they butched up, they would look like a man?
I guess, yeah.
So the theory is, that's why he was never caught, because she was now a she, and they were looking for a man. And
right.
there's actually some
Wow.
conjecture that when they landed, she switched back to women's clothes and just got a ride like hitchhiking, because everyone's looking for a man. They're not looking for a woman.
Yo, that's crazy.
I didn't bring that one up because I really don't think it. Let me see if the name doesn't matter. If you really want to know, look it up, because there's so much more stuff than this than we're covering.
Yo, that's
And
crazy.
that's one of the fun
though.
parts too, is how much you can actually get through in this episode. It's just like JFK and aliens. There's so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
So many people talk about it.
I think it's wild that a crime happens and so many people be like, it was me. Like, what? Like, you
People-
wasn't even there. Why are you stepping up right now?
You remember a couple episodes
don't get
ago,
it.
I was talking about clout and like
Yeah, it's fucking
before
weird.
the internet, you had to get clout different ways, and this was how you did it.
It was me.
I'm JB Cooper. I'm the demon of the skies. You ain't gonna take me alive, Kappa. That's how I see her. This is how I see him say, "Yeah, give me a bourbon and soda, Kappa.
Kappa.
You're not gonna take me alive. I'm jumping out the airplane.
You're gonna want to
Kappa."
read that note, miss. I don't know.
Yeah, and like, did he whisper like, "Hey, psst, look, read the note. I have a bomb." Or he'd be like,
I
"Hey,
just think-
hey, lady, I have a bomb. Fucking check the note already. Jesus, I don't got all day. I'm trying to blow this shit up, get my money, and go."
I just think it's mad crazy that he like the passing the note and she's just like whatever, throws
Yeah.
it over her shoulder. Like, I don't know. Like, he's like, why are you giving me your garbage? And she crumples it up and throws it on the floor. He's just like, what?
All right, so that our last suspect, even though the Channel Sudden there was no suspect, it is a new theory not everyone's heard about and seen. But this last one has come out in the last couple months, which is one of the reasons why I decided to actually. You want to know the real reason why we decided to do this episode? I was playing NHL 24 with one of my new friends that I met on NHL 24, and we get together, we play games. And I got in a game with him last week, and I told him about the podcasting. He's like, you should do DB Cooper. I'm like, oh my god, that's such a great story. I should. And then I started reading up into it again, and I'm like, you know what? This was going to be like a second half of a Good Morning Earth episode, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I get 25 minutes of talking about DB Cooper out about it
Yeah.
because it's so interesting. So the last guy, so anyway. I told him the next day. I didn't even know it was him. I didn't click because I don't have a good memory, so I don't know names like that. So somebody joins my group of playing, and he mentions DB Cooper again, and I'm like, oh my god, thank you. Because of that, we're doing our next episode on it. So I think that's pretty cool. And if you're listening to this, because he actually took information down, thank you, man. This was actually a really fun episode to talk about.
It was. I really liked looking this one up for sure.
All right, so the last guy we're going to get into is a guy named Vince Peterson. He's a little bit newer. No one really knows about who he is. But according to a guy named Eric Eulis, he's a private detective. He found a stainless steel titanium mix, like microscopic piece. like really small. Like you had to use a microscope. That's what microscopic means. But it's an alloy of like that's not very known at the time. Like not everyone had that. So he left behind this tie. Everyone knows about the little tie, the clip, looking very Reservoir Dog looking.
Okay.
On there, they found all the stuff, and they found other metals on there. And going through these, what do they call when you have like I want to invent something, a patent. So he goes through patents and finds out that there's a place in Pittsburgh that cover all three of them. And it's funny because one of the suspects I saw was also from the east side, and like, nah, he can't be him. He's from the east side. But what's interesting is since he wasn't working for Boeing, he was working for a place called, where is it? Crucible Steel.
Mhm.
So they actually provided titanium stainless steel to Boeing for their planes. And he would have to travel out to Seattle to like kind of expect and check out the Boeing stuff because they're sending stuff over. He's like, make sure all his product is good. Because a lot of on the plane, DB Cooper talked like he knew the area. Like, oh, this is where we are because I could tell from these monuments and this thing over there. Oh, take me over here. Like he was very well, like he knew about the sky. But if you flew in all the time, you could, it's like driving down your block. You know it, like you could close your eyes and probably drive home.
Yeah.
So, this is just him revisiting someplace else. And that they went to the Crucible Steel plant and they talked to somebody who was around back then. And they showed the description. They told him the description of DB Cooper. And he was like, oh, that sounds like Vincent Peterson.
Mm.
So, unfortunately, Vincent died
Mm-hmm.
a while back. But it leads to a lot of evidence that it could potentially. Some of the pictures they showed, he does look like DB Cooper. Some of them they don't. I don't know. I think the science behind this one is a better fit than the conjecture of saying, oh, that looks like the guy. Or, he did this, or this might be him.
Wait, so they found microscopic like
Titanium
metals
and stainless steel.
that led them to a factory or
Yeah,
whatever.
Crucible Steel, yeah, a plant.
And
they provided
when they went over
Boeing.
there, they're like, we're looking for a dude that looks like this, and they're like, oh, that sounds like this guy.
Yeah, the guy who worked there was a guy that who worked there at the time, still there. Like I guess he was younger when he was there because it was 50 years ago.
I mean, it seems like a bit of a stretch. Like I don't know. Like
Well,
I don't know. I don't feel like it seems
forensically,
too coincidental
but
to be like factual. Like, I don't know.
forensically, that makes the most sense. It doesn't even have to be Peterson. It could be one of his coworkers. They
Yeah.
just, you don't.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. Like if you ask me of who my coworkers are now, or even you would name 100% of all of them because even though you work there now, you're not gonna remember every little person there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes people will ask for people, and I'm like, I don't know who that is.
So we're talking about 40, 50 years later, and this guy's like, oh, yeah, I remember him. That's Vince. So I think it's potentially could be a person here, especially at the time that these metals weren't found anywhere else.
Mhm.
And I don't know. The pieces
I
just
guess I
fit.
see the connection there, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem. I guess that's I guess out of everybody, that makes the most sense. I guess
Like-
now that I really think about it.
Like, what's the word I was just using? When you use science to, crime scene unit. What is that called? Forensics.
Okay.
Forensically, yeah, this one makes more sense. I think it's other people, but that's the fun of this. And I think the fun of this is that we never find out.
I don't know. I hate
'Cause-
that we don't know.
But once we find out, there's no more looking into it. There's no more trying to find out, trying to be. There's no more, none of that.
Yeah. Oh fuck! How did they find us? What, they got a tracker on us?
I told you, if you go to my mom's house, they're just gonna go to my mom's house and check.
But I don't get why. How would they
Because-
know? We don't even come here all the time.
Because you go to the wife's house or the girlfriend's house, and we live together. So where's the next? Where does every boy go? To his mommy. I told you they would come here. Come on, hurry up! We gotta go out the window.
All right, guys, make sure you follow us on Twitter. We got a new one, I think, right?
Yes, it's gonna be WKMU Radio Pod.
Yes. Freaking spammers.
Yeah,
And,
we have to switch up because of spammers. Sky Blue.
All right, yeah. So make sure you follow us on Facebook under Blue Sky.
And as always,
Please check on your friends.
everyone deserves love, even you.
This has been an 87.9 WKMU production. Signing out.
Goodbye.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night and God bless America.